Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Bere. The feature race at Keeneland on Saturday is the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. These are 3-year-old fillies going 1 1/8 miles. You can bet this race, you can bet this card. This is the first leg of the Keeneland Woodbine All-Turf Pick 4 with a DRF Bets account. And if you already are a DRF Bets member, I urge you to take part in the Weekend Warrior Bonus Series. Bet $25 to win on race number 1 at Keeneland on Saturday and or Sunday during the meet. Earn up to a $70 bonus to be used during the Breeders' Cup weekend. All the details are at drf.com/warrior. Here's the field for the prestigious Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. The story of the race is the favorite, the number 8 Rushing Fall, 7-5 on the morning line. I would expect she'll be odds on at post time, Mike.
Yeah, it feels like she's going to be a really short price in this race. Just, you know, one of those fillies so far for Chad Brown who just hasn't done anything wrong. She just keeps showing up and running, not only winning her races for the most part, but just running really well in her races. She sort of, you know, she missed a little time earlier this year. That could be a little bit of a concern, but when she's faced these horses dating back to the end of last year, she's just bossing them around. She's
a neck away from being perfect in her 6-race career, already a millionaire, and perhaps most importantly, 2 for 2 over the Keeneland turf course for Chad Brown. And she handled the 1 1/8 miles. That was a little bit of a question last time out in the Grade 2 Lake Placid at Saratoga when beating a couple of these. Now, she got soft ground that day that she seems to relish, but it just looked like she fired hard every step of the way. That pace was solid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, she got the trip that I think she wanted in that race, got forward in that race, tracked the pace setter, and when it was time to take over, she just took over. I like the way she took that race over through the second turn of that race, all on her own power, and as you say, just really finished it off very nicely in there. She's just way the horse to beat in this race.
There doesn't appear to be a lot of speed in this race, as we see from the Timeform US pace projector, because they have the number 8 Rushing Fool, who has never been on the lead in her career, not only out there on the lead, but on a relatively clear pace. And if this situation occurs and she is comfortable on the lead, they're going to have a whale of a time catching her.
Yeah, that's all very true too, because you're right. When you look at her races, you don't think of her as being a horse who, you know, wants to get out there and set the pace in her races, but there's just no other real pace in this race.
Perhaps the number 1 Nialetti can be a little bit closer to the pace, as she was in the Beverly D Stakes 2 starts back. I think they stretched her abilities a little too far at 1 mile and 3/16 that day. All in all, it was a good trip. Not embarrassed at all behind the Sister Charlies, the 4-star Crook, some really nice older fillies and mares. And then last time out against older males in a Group 2 stakes in England, she ran okay again. Stormy Antarctic, the 3rd-place finisher, came back to run 3rd in the Woodbine Mile, and the 7th horse came back to run 3rd in the Group 1 Sun Chariot. So she's kept good form, and she's well posted.
Right, and you could argue, you know, even though she's facing Rushing Fall in this spot, she might be getting some class relief here. She's faced some good fields in her last 2 races. We'll see how she classes up here, what kind of trip she gets from the rail, but it is interesting that they're shipping her right back over into a race that she probably fits a little bit better in.
Now, number 5 is Mission Impassable. This is a Group 2 winner, 2 starts back, and most recently in the Group 1 pre-Rothschild, she took on With You. It was a pretty nice filly in her own right. That one came back to run 3rd in a Group 1 in France. The 2nd horse, Crown Walk, came back and ran at Keeneland last week, and I think finished a solid 4th. Mission Impassable is going to stretch out to 1 1/8 miles for the first time, but when you look at this pedigree, you're not worried.
Yeah, you don't really worry about her stretching out. I don't care about that. It's interesting because when you look at her, she was a good 2-year-old, and then you look at her 4 races so far this year, and you feel like, well, did she just not come back as good as a 3-year-old this year? As you mentioned, she was in a good field last time. Her win 2 starts back, though, I mean, she won that race pretty easily. She got a perfect trip in that race, but she won that race very convincingly. I think this filly's pretty good, and I'm with you. I'm not that worried about her stretching out in this race.
The number 3, Fatale Bere, got a really nice setup last time out to take down the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks, but trainer Leonard Powell has done a very good job with this filly because early in her career she was very hard to settle, very rank in her races. Kent DeZormo fits her well. He gets her in behind horses, and when it is time to run, he produces her. The 6th-place finisher from the Del Mar Oaks paved rebounded to run 2nd with a 97 buyer in the Rodeo Drive. I am worried about the lack of pace up front.
It feels like it's going to affect her maybe more than it affects anybody else. There are instances in her past where, as you say, she's not that easy to settle. That could be a problem for her in this race if they're walking in front of her. But her best race is pretty good. I think she beat a good field this time. I think she might have had the best of it as far as trips go, but she beat a good field last time.
The 4 Daddy's Is a Legend has been beaten on 3 occasions by Rushing Fall, including most recently in the Lake Placid. Trainer George Weaver says she'll be a race day decision based on the ground. He doesn't want to run her if the ground is too soft. She has run well at Keeneland in the past if the course is firm, but I'm just not sure she's as good as Rushing Fall.
I mean, at this point, it's certainly Rushing Fall, you'd have to say, is a little bit better than her, but the Lake Placid aside, which is just a race where Daddy's a Legend, maybe it was the soft ground where she didn't really fire that hard in the stretch. the other 2 times these 2 horses hooked up, they really raced each other, and it's not like it was, you know, some kind of clear-cut dominating win for Rushing Fall. It was very close. Daddy Legend ran well in both of those races. She's good, Dan. She likes the mile and 8. She likes Keeneland. There are things to like about her, save her last race, which is, if it's a legit excuse that she doesn't like soft ground, why can't she rebound and run better in this race?
Trainer Bill Mott won this race in 2014 with Crown Queen, ran second 2 years later with Harmonize. He sends out Capla Temptress, the number 7, who I just don't think liked the yielding ground last time out at Belmont in the Sands Point. 2 starts back, I like that performance in the Lake Placid. Rushing Fall just got too big of a head start on her turning into the stretch. She swung real wide, came with a good run, produced her career best buyer speed figure. She's another one. Can she stay closer to the pace? I know you've been chasing her.
Yeah, I've been doing a little chasing. I got to admit, I'm starting to get a little tired of her. But I did think she ran well 2 back. I thought she ran sneaky okay in the Belmont Oaks 3 starts back as well. A little bit of a trip in that race. I'm not quite convinced she's as good as Rushing Fall horses like that. I think this is probably a tougher spot for her, but she's okay.
Buyers creeping up for the number 6, Secret Message. It goes out for Graham Motion, second in this race with Miss Temple City a few years ago. Second in the Sands Point last time out behind California Gold Rush. I wonder if she's just a notch below the Rushing Fall type. She seems to be improving, but she's another one. She needs a lot of pace up front.
Yeah, that's the real problem for her, too. You know, I love the ride that Johnny V gave her last time, because the Sands Point wasn't really developing in front. She was last around the first turn, and I think Johnny V recognized that and got her closer to the pace. She actually ran pretty well, and they just couldn't get by a good horse in California Gold Rush. But is he going to be able to ride her like that again and then take on Rushing Fall if they're walking on the lead and get by that horse? It seems like a tall order.
Princess Warrior's a really nice filly. Grade 1 placed on dirt, Grade 3 placed on turf. Goes out for Ken McPeak, who had Daddy's Little Darling run second in this race last year. Princess Warrior, though, is another closer who just seems a little bit slow on paper.
A little bit slow, probably facing horses that are a little too good for her right now. As you say, the pace probably doesn't help her at all. I do think she's a better turf horse, though.
Let's take a look at our top selection for the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Rushing Fall's going to be tough, but if she gets to the lead, she might be very, very tough to catch. She should be in control of things at least when the field turns into the stretch, and it doesn't seem like there are any ground worries, firm or soft.
Yeah.
She's solid, but there's no price.
Yeah, there's no price. I mean, she's just way the horse to beat in this race, though. Listen, you know, the 3, 4, and 5 to me are the most logical horses if you want to take a shot against her, but it's kind of hard to go against her based on what she's done.
Rushing Fall, way the horse to beat in the prestigious Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup at Keeneland on Saturday. Again, it kicks off the Keeneland Woodbine All-Turf Pick 4. You can bet that on DRF Bets, as well as this race as a standalone. And for DRF Bets members already, please take part in the Weekend Warrior bonus series. Bet $25 on race number 1 at Keeneland each Saturday and Sunday. Earn up to a $70 bonus to be utilized on Breeders' Cup weekend. DRF.com/Warriors, where you need to go for all the details and approximate post time for the QE2, 5:30 Eastern. Good luck.